Joshua out in a round. He was enticing AJ to fight him. And this seemed to have been triggered by the fact that AJ apparently picked Efe Ajagba to beat Bakole. Now, first of all, it's not really surprising that AJ picked Ajagba to beat Bakole because AJ is Nigerian by heritage, and he's currently in Nigeria right now as we speak. And presumably, when he made this comment about Ajagba, he was speaking to the Nigerian media. All right, so when you put it all together, obviously he's going to pick his countryman, right? He's going to pick Ajagba over Bakole, who's from Congo. But Bakole seemed to, I don't know whether he took offense to it, or whether he just saw it as an opportunity to call out a guy that he's wanted to fight for a very long time. Now, the question I asked myself when Bakole came out and said all this is why he wasn't calling AJ out with the same type of passion and with the same type of energy before AJ got chinned by Daniel Dubois. I'm not saying that Bakole was ever scared of AJ or not confident of beating him, but I just find it a little off when you're calling out a guy with this much, zeal who just got chinned and totally destroyed. You guys remember when David Haye got knocked out by Bellew? I think it was the second time, which makes it even worse. David Haye got knocked out by Tony Bellew, and Dylan White, who was ringside, immediately called David Haye out. And I was like, what on earth is all that about? Why are you calling out an old guy who just got chinned? Very, very strange. And for me, that was not a good look for Dylan White to be calling out a guy, an old guy, who was clearly shot to bits and just got chinned by a cruiserweight. Obviously, David Haye was a former cruiserweight himself, but he'd been campaigning at heavyweight for many, many years at that point. So yeah, I thought that was off of Dylan White to be calling out David Haye in that situation. And David Haye seemed bemused by it because I think they did put it to him and he was like, what? Very strange. And similar situation for Bakole here, at least in my view. Calling out Anthony Joshua, who just got annihilated by Daniel Dubois, is puzzling. I don't think it's the strongest move, personally. But then again, maybe it's a clout thing. Maybe he just wants to keep his name in people's mouths. And by mentioning and calling out a big name like AJ, that achieves that objective. I don't know. I think it would have been, from a boxing perspective, better move to reserve that type of energy for Daniel Dubois. At the end of the day, he's one fight away from being Daniel Dubois' mandatory challenger. So right now is the time when he needs to be beating the drum. He needs to be really sticking his foot on Daniel Dubois' neck. You know what I mean? To make sure the public know all about the sparring. I know sparring is sparring, and Billy Nelson makes people sick to death with his Martin Bakole sparring stories. But again, he's trying to get a fight for the heavyweight championship of the world. If he beats Ajagba, if that fight goes ahead, he'll be mandatory, yes. But you never know with the way that boxing politics works, whether they'll be able to somehow delay the fight or, I don't know, get a unification with Usyk or mess them around somehow. So Bakole would be wise to try and get some public support on his side, to try and drum up some publicity by putting most of his energy, rather than calling out AJ, who just got destroyed by Dubois, call out Dubois. And I'm talking about with the same zeal that he's calling out Anthony Joshua. Call out Dubois and talk about knocking him out in a round, so on and so forth, rather than a guy who looks to me like he's shot to bits, mentally, if not physically.